What up, perps? Kid Copious back in effect. Purple State Party, you know what we're doing here? We're up in America, the center, and common sense. And I ain't got much more to say than that. So let's get this thing poppin'. All right, let's kick this off, man. So, you know, the Biden administration and the media, they're trying to spin this gaslighting story about how the economy's really doing well. You know, look at all the jobs that were added and, you know, look how the stock market's doing. But, you know, when it comes to the stock market, that doesn't really help the bottom rungs of the economic ladder. And as far as the jobs numbers, a lot of that is overinflated numbers, as we've seen in the past. I mean, California had to reduce theirs by something like 85%, 90%. And a lot of this is people working two jobs. Because we have to stretch our dollar now more than ever because of fuel costs and because of inflation. Biden doesn't seem to want to do anything about that because, you know, when you attack fuel costs, that's the first step to rampant inflation. You know, and one of the telltale signs of Biden's policies and Newsom's policies and even Obama's policies leads to crap like this. 99-cent store to close all 371 stores. That's right. I mean, if you don't live in the area, 99-cent stores like Dollar General, Dollar Store, whatever. You know, it's low-cost food, razor-thin margins. But after 4 decades, every one of the stores is shutting down. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe they come back in some other iteration, but basically they're shutting down. Multiple factors were cited by the CEO. Unprecedented impact of the COVID, shifting customer demand, persistent inflation, rising levels of shrink, which, if you don't know, is, you know, the loss of inventory because of shoplifting, employee theft, or errors, administrative errors. But 14,000 people are about to be out of jobs. California, Arizona, Nevada, and Texas. They're liquidating. They were running smoothly for 30 years until 2008, when guess who got elected? Obama. Soaring food and fuel prices and higher minimum wages. That's good, but at the same time, those razor-thin margins got even more razor-thin. They were sold to a private investor group, which probably didn't help. But at the end of the day, when they're operating on razor-thin margins and fuel costs go up, they have to have deliveries. Deliveries have to be made from point A to point B to point C to point D. That all raises the cost. Inflation raises the cost. I know for a lot of years now, 99-cent store and dollar stores like that have been raising prices to try to keep up. But now, you know, especially in a place like California, real estate prices are through the roof. Labor costs are through the roof. And I get it. You know, we have that conundrum where the people at the top are making wildly overinflated salaries. But it's just like a platform like YouTube. The person who brings in the most views makes the most money. And for the most part, I agree CEOs do deserve their giant salaries because they do have a lot on their plate. But the problem is when you're raising fuel costs and energy costs like they do here in California, okay, and then the labor costs go up, after a while you're just not making any money. And if you get bought by a private equity group who saddles you with debt, it's pretty hard to pay back that when your margins are just shrinking. If you ain't got nothing, you ain't got nothing. And you got to close your doors. And now that's going to leave a lot of people cut off from places where they were able to buy essentials for cheap. It was, I mean, make no mistake about it. I know the quality you were getting there when you bought certain things, you know. But at the same time, if you needed something like a gift bag, it was a great place to go. Whatever. So a little more gaslighting here. White House leaves Transgender Day of Visibility off Spanish language accounts on Easter. Yeah, that's great. On the Spanish language one, they marked Cesar Chavez Day, which occurs on March 31st, but the main White House count didn't. So are you promoting Cesar Chavez only to the Spanish people and trans visibility only to the white people? Is that kind of the way that you're playing this game? So is it important to you, or is it simply a way to get votes? And you realize that if you put one on the other, maybe people would be, upset about that and maybe not vote for you? I have no problem. I understand if you're upset about the Trans Visibility Day ending up on Easter. That is not a great coincidence, but that's the way it works. You know, both of them are on set days and sometimes they collide. Not a big deal, okay? But the fact that they will only promote trans visibility to English speakers and not the Spanish speakers is kind of gross. And the fact that they mark Cesar Chavez only to the Spanish followers, but not the English followers, that's also gross. And it really just shows how much these politicians value their power and their ability to become rich and famous. They're willing to do stuff like this, to sell out their so-called ideals. Whatever. Well, Bronco sums it up best here, what's going on some of these college campuses. They are allowing fascist racism, all of that. Everything that they accuse the right of being, they are exhibiting in these pro-Palestinian, marches, gatherings, whatever you want to call it. They're terrorizing Jewish students, and nobody's doing anything about it. And it's very simple to kind of turn that around and say, well, what if people on the college campuses were terrorizing gay people? Would the reaction be the same? Because that's another problem that we see going on in America right now. It's a matter of who it's affecting. When it comes to some of the problems they're having in college athletics, they're like, it doesn't really matter. It's only happening to the women. And here they're like, it doesn't really matter. It's only happening to the Jews. They're white, so they're oppressors. That's their kind of thing. Like this one. A Jewish freshman's face was plastered on anti-Israel flyers at Rutgers. So they used the image of a Jewish freshman to say that he was promoting this anti-Israel statement. Would that be allowed in other groups? I'm gross. But at Rutgers, what do they want? They want Rutgers to divest its endowment fund from companies that profit from, engage in, or contribute to Israel's human rights violations. What about the Palestinians' human rights violations? Where were you on that? Where are you when it comes to the human rights violations in Russia, China, Iran? Why aren't you standing for those things? Why is it just this? This is an exercise to keep you in the field. That's what it is. That's all it is. The organizers, the people behind this, they just want to spread Jewish hate. That's it. Rutgers' complicity in genocide, human rights violations, and apartheid. Oh, okay. Where were you on October 6th? Huh? Where were you? And this guy's cosplaying as a Hamas terrorist right there. This is supposed to be Rutgers, okay? These are supposed to be Rutgers students. And the mofo can't even spell divest. Come on, man. I love how a couple of them are wearing masks over there, partially to hide their faces and partially to signal, hey, we're on that side. Bored, dumb college kids being goaded into this kind of behavior and college campuses allowing it to happen. This is full-on racism. That's all it is. All right? These people do not care at all about the people of Gaza. All right? This is about keeping the left-wing fighters in the field, getting them practice because they have an upcoming election and you know what's going to happen sometime over the summer. We're going to have another race riot. And they're going to use it as propaganda against the right. That's what they're going to do. It's their playbook. But at least get people who could spell. Come on. Oh, here's another great one. California Democrats want a block bill that would recriminalize loitering as prostitution spirals in big cities. So this was sponsored by Kelly Searto. Sorry if I got that wrong. To roll back Scott Wiener. Why do we listen to Scott Wiener? All he's known for is bad ideas. Okay? They signed it into law in 2022, but critics say the law has promoted brazen prostitution and sex trafficking on city streets. There's some of the pictures from San Diego. Blurred out. Why are they blurred out? Because it's fucking gross. All right? Nearly naked prostitutes prowl streets in broad daylight. That's loitering for prostitution. If that was a person actually going somewhere, they would probably cover up until they got there. You know, I mean, if they, whatever. I'm trying not to spiral, man. Searto brings up the fact that they need our help to get out of their dangerous situation. And we should use every tool at our disposal to protect them. People are being trafficked. People are being forced into this lifestyle. And one of the ways that the state can help them is to get them off the streets, get them to safety, and see if they can rebuild their lives. See if they can get them disconnected from these scumbags who are trafficking them. And also, so that you don't have scenes like we just saw. I don't have a problem with prostitution. Personally, it is what it is. If that's what you want to do, then it should be legal. I don't see the downside, except when you're doing it in public, and except when it involves human trafficking. That's part of the problem, is that if you legalize it, then the sort of nasty side gets more power. We've seen that all over the place. You legalize drugs, the nasty people get the money. It's the way it works. But Searto says, neglecting victims for the sake of not inconveniencing criminals is bad public policy. I get it. I see what they're saying, what Wiener was saying, okay? That the police being able to detain people for loitering for the purposes of prostitution, it does sweep up a lot of innocent people, okay? I don't know what the statistics on that are, but I would say that for the most part, you could kind of tell, all right? And if it's somebody who is being forced into that lifestyle, the only way they're going to get out is if somebody pulls them out. So I'm on the side of, that whole idea. If you're going to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. I mean, I don't like the fact that it can be used to target certain people. I don't like that. And of course, context has a lot to do with that. But we've seen now for 2 years what it looks like if you just allow this. I don't mind trying new things, but you have to have the cojones to quit that bad idea once you realize it's a bad idea. All right? So Seattle Public Schools are shutting down their gifted and talented program for being oversaturated with white and Asian students. All righty. Yeah. And it's not exclusively white and Asian students, mind you. But they're going to dismantle it in favor of a more inclusive, equitable, and culturally sensitive program. I don't understand how culturally sensitive enters into this. Their system is based on metrics. If you hit certain metrics, you're in the program. But nah. School officials said the program is not going away. It's getting better. In particular, students who have been historically excluded, it's based on metrics. It's not based on a committee that decides if somebody goes in there. It's just if you meet certain criteria. So how do you just say historically excluded? All right. Got to make it that issue. It just can't simply be grades, right? Well, in their study, 70% of the students were white. And in the school's district of student support services told Parent Map, numbers would suggest that within our city, predominantly white children are more gifted than other cultures and races. And we know that is absolutely not true. Well, maybe it is, because you did a survey that showed that in the gifted program, 70% of the students were white. White being a pretty broad category, mind you. There were other groups represented, yes, at smaller percentages. And yes, a lot of it has to do with their situation at home. And that's where we need to focus. Because think about this for a minute now. Some young black kid works really hard, gets himself into the honor system, and now you're going to take away that. You're going to take away that so that when the kids leave the school, the colleges can't look and see, oh, this person was an honor student. That's what it's about. It's about funneling more kids into the college system, getting them hooked on the debt, getting them brainwashed at the fucking liberal colleges, and then voting for Democrats who will continue to do stupid shit like this. If you want to have a program that helps elevate kids to the levels of honor roll, do that. But don't take away the honor roll. Don't punish the kids who work hard. Not every kid who's in an honor roll is there simply because they're so smart. A lot of it is hard work. It's discipline. It's taking time out of after school to work on subjects. Where I live, there are lots of after school places where you can get additional information or additional education. Math-asiums. I mean, come on, there are people whose children are going to basically math camp every day after school. That's how you get into honor roll. I understand that that's available only to the people who can afford to do that, and that's part of the problem. It's not the skin color that's the problem. It's the situations that these children come out of. If you come out of a system where you are doing these extracurricular things, yeah, you're going to do better. But to take it away because it's oversaturated with the wrong skin color, once again, reinforcing that skin color dictates who you will become. And that's absolutely gross. Talked a lot about gaslighting here, and, once again, the thing, keep in mind, I'm not against wind and solar, but I am, like I said at the beginning, I'm standing for common sense. And a lot of what is going on with green energy is not being done with common sense. I've said it before. They're trying to shove 30 years into 3 years. And that makes the cost shoot through the roof. It makes companies overspend on things that the consumer goes, yeah, not really. So let's look at a few of these things. And one of the things that bothers me the most is that EVs are being promoted to save the environment. And that's simply not true. Electric vehicles are simply replacing gas vehicles. There is not going to be a global improvement. There simply isn't. You might see small-scale examples, but look up what places like Gazprom in Russia, Mobil, some of these other big major polluters in the world, entire countries that are just set on destroying the planet, it seems. We're never going to offset that. And at the same time, we're now going to create more new problems. So this is Legatis explaining this. He's a climatologist. The lithium, all the rare earth minerals that are necessary for batteries, for solar panels and wind turbines are called rare earths, okay? They are acquired through strip mining, which involves putting large chunks of earth into a solution. Oh, God, that's a bad word right there, solution. Once the minerals are extracted, what's left is toxic sludge. Yeah. They're not called rare because they don't exist. or are actually rare. They're rare because they don't form in seams, okay? Big veins, you've heard of, gold veins, silver veins, okay? So in other words, you don't go to a place and there's a whole bunch of lithium and you mine out that lithium. You strip all the soil off, dump it in a bunch of freaking acid, reactions happen, things are emitted, and you take what you need, okay? That's the process. And they do it all over the place, but not really too much here in America because we don't want to fuck up our environment. So after you have that big toxic sludge, somebody has to pull out all those pieces. Somebody has to get rid of that sludge. And then you move on. You keep doing this with the whole mountain. So we're essentially, for example only, not in actuality, you're going to take a mountain and you're going to reduce it to flat land using a bunch of acid, burning a bunch of diesel in these big giant earth movers. And where it's being done a lot, such as the Congo, Southeast Asia, you've got children out there, 8-year-olds wandering through this toxic material. In a lot of places, it's done with slave labor. That's not good. So if you're interested in social justice, these things aren't very social justice oriented. If you're interested in environmental cleanliness, these things are not environmentally pure. And as it stands right now, it's just as polluting because you're burning all of that fuel to get to these things. And here's another problem that that hasn't really gotten talked about enough. Putting these things out when they're in an accident. The more of these that are on the road, the more accidents will happen. You will need to learn how to contain these fires. As you can see with gasoline or water, it's easy. You put water on it. Now, I would rather use ABC foam because, water tends to spread the fuel and the fire. But fire trucks, fire hydrants, you use what's there. It'll work. Lithium fires will burn effectively for long periods of time and you can't cool them down. They keep reacting. Now you've got the fire out. You've got somebody trapped in the car. You go to use the jaws of life to open up the car and you connect to the battery or a wire connecting to the battery. Everything gets lit up. The person in the car could be killed. The first responder could be killed. The whole car could turn into a dangerous level of electricity, in other words. That's not a problem with gasoline. But it is a problem with electric vehicles. The amperage, the voltage. These things don't make a lot of sense. Small scale, yes. Large scale, no. Big rigs, things like that, no. I was driving around recently and I saw ethanol at $2.96 a gallon. And America's got nothing but cornfields. We could be moving that way. Learn how to clean that up. We have clean diesel. We have solutions to lowering carbon emissions. And we should be working on that instead of diverting all of this money into something that ultimately is not going to work. In Delaware now, I mean, look at this. See, this is the kind of the fallout. This is what I want to talk about here. This is the fallout from some of this. In Delaware, if you build a new house, you have to have a connection for an electric vehicle inside that house, whether you have one or not. If you build a new apartment complex, each apartment complex, depending on its size, has to have a place outside that's not on the street to park and recharge an electric vehicle. That is a lot of money being added to the construction. That is a lot of money being added to the maintenance of an apartment complex. So what are you going to do? You drive housing up, right? The housing cost goes up. Then you got to raise everybody's minimum wages, right? You got to raise the amount you give on public assistance because everything's so freaking expensive. Live in California. I know how that works. All so that you could charge an electric vehicle. Hopefully, you buy the right vehicle. Hopefully, they have adapters. Hopefully, this is actually future-proof. I don't think it is. I think these are bad ideas. And one thing that we are starting to see more and more is that these things have the unfortunate side effect of simply bursting into flame when they're being charged. I don't think car fires are that big of a deal. I don't think the typical gas or diesel car just spontaneously combusts. I know electric vehicles do. All right, so, the biggest concern here in California right now, on top of all the other bullshit, is the budget. And it's going to need to get cut a lot. And so far, Gavin Newsom and the leaders of the state, Senate, and Assembly have announced an agreement to cut $17 billion from the state budget in April, providing the first details of their plan to begin to tackle the state's massive deficit. Well, that's a good use of an adjective right there. Massive deficit. The plan, they're going to delay $1 billion in grant funding for transit and intercity rail. Okay. They're going to pause hiring for open state jobs, which means the workers will now be under the pressure of having to do two people's jobs. And of course, pull back, $500 million from a program that would help districts pay for K through 12 building projects. Yeah, okay. Great. Those are some great ones. I mean, they're going to continue to provide free health care and insurance and crap like that to people who aren't even supposed to be in this country. They didn't cut that. I looked through the budget. I didn't see that cut. They're going to use our record budget reserves of $38 billion. So they're pulling $38 billion out of savings. That's great. And Newsom says there's still work to do as we finalize the budget. Yeah, okay. Here's the problem. The Legislative Analysis Office, which is exactly what it sounds like, they analyze legislation, have suggested the deficit could be nearly twice as high. So not $38 billion, $76 billion? Where are those cuts going to come from? And, of course, they want to blame lower than expected revenues. No, that's overinflated predictions on their parts. Delayed tax deadlines. Okay, that could explain a little bit of it. But overspending based on inaccurate budget projections created California's grim financial picture. The train that was supposed to cost I don't even remember now, $8 billion, and it's now up to $135 billion. The state budget relies heavily on capital gains tax paid by California's highest earners, making state revenues subject to the volatility in the stock market. But the stock market's doing good. Joe Biden keeps saying so. The media keeps telling us everything's up. Oh, look at all this. So where's all the money? It's people who left. It's companies that left. It's projections that aren't even based in fucking reality. That's the problem. And where does it lie? At the assembly, okay? 62 Democrats out of 82 seats. It's pretty one-sided. So I think we could just say this is a problem with the Democrats. They're just wildly spending money. They have these brilliant ideas to fix society and boom, 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 and they just start throwing cash at it. Oh, no. We won't need any more than this. And then once you're into the project, they use the sunk cost fallacy to say, well, you don't want to shut us down now. We need 3 times the money. We've been doing this for years, and it's really catching up with us right now. And part of it, too, is that there's no transparency. We're not getting to see why other cuts aren't being made. That would be nice to know, wouldn't it? But I downloaded the PDF, and I found one of the genius pieces in here. $1.6 billion in statewide payroll deferral. What the hell's that mean? Well, kid did his work, okay? State employees are supposed to get paid on June 30th. If they delay the payment to July 1st, that pushes all that payroll into the next budget. So not only are we going to blow all of our savings, okay, not only are we going to continue ahead with our stupidest projects and cut things such as retirement contributions. Look at that. They shaved out $1.8 billion in greenhouse gas reduction. So that means how much is left in there? Maybe we don't need to worry about greenhouse gases this year. Maybe we should set that on the back burner. No. We're going to take out retirement contribution reductions using Prop 2 to save $1.3 billion. We're going to defer payroll until our next budget. $1.6 billion already added to the next budget. That's their plan. That's who we've elected. These fucking idiots. And I bet you they're going to turn over that $100 billion for the train, because that train is their symbol. A few years ago, their symbol was a mask. It was BLM. It was equity, DEI. Now, here in California, it's that damn train. Let's get a little lighter here. I was drawn and quartered for this. The despondent ghost of William Wallace in skies over Edinburgh. Yeah. I mean, I'm all for ending hate speech, but the way they're going about it up there in Scotland is cuckoo. You're allowing people to define hate speech. You can now define hate speech to silence critics. That's what they're doing up there. Scottish Parliament declares William Wallace was a woman after learning he wore a skirt. That's primarily where it's being directed right now. On day one of their so-called hate law, they had 3,000 people calling in to the police station to report people for hate speech on Twitter and social media platforms. That's what they think is the problem. It's a way around any form of any censorship laws that these governments might have. Well, it wasn't us who said it was hate speech. It was, Dillwag 1700. Dillwag. Maybe I'll steal that as a screen name. But, man, Scotland's dead to me. I don't think that's a good law. And it's interesting to watch J.K. Rowling fight against it. Discord. That's what a good democracy is built on. Discord. Being able to talk. But more importantly, being able to listen. And I think that's one of the things that we've lost in this country. I see loads of evidence, says the media, looking at Trump. I see no evidence, says the same media, looking at Joe Biden. It's what it is now. It's lawfare. It's really telling, though, that these so-called progressives really just want to be dictators, fascist dictators at that. Control the media, control the narrative, control the gaslighting. Gaslight the people, and then turn around and say that people such as myself, by exploring ideas, is trying to gaslight people in a dangerous way, and I need to be shut down. The government needs to be shut down. It's rampant right now, man. The state government here in California and many other states, the government in D.C., that unhinged lunatics. They're doing what they want, not what's best for us. In a hilarious April Fool's joke, Congress announces they're working hard to serve the American people. That's what I'm talking about. They're serving themselves. That's the biggest takeaway here. They're serving themselves. It's not a pack of Democrats, who that happens to be. It's all of them. It's all of them in one form or another are complacent in this absolute disregard for a majority of Americans who are at the bottom rung of the economic ladder. The bottom rungs. From the middle class to the poor. These people are not serving the people anymore. They're serving themselves. And it's evident. It's very evident. But we're going to end on a happier note. Mexican robots surge across southern border to take new fast food jobs in California. Oh, that is some good work right there, guys. I really find that one funny. But robots are coming. It's inevitable at this point in the fast food industry, because they're going to have to do something. I just went and got a shitty burger at the Habit. Me, my wife, my daughter. And it was like $60. I'm not saying they raise costs because of the $20 an hour. I don't really give a shit what the reason is. Shit's expensive. And I really wish the government would stop gaslighting us into trying to believe that everything's okay. We're better off now than we were 4 years ago. Because we weren't. We weren't. And it's getting worse, and it's getting worse. And it's getting stupider and grosser and more fucking obvious. That's the problem we have here. Not a red, not a blue. It's the fact that we're not purple. It's the fact that we're not looking at the common sense that is in between the two opposing views and realizing that that answer is in the middle. Whether it's the finances, the social, whatever it is, the answer is in the middle. Like Seattle, keep your honor roll program, but start programs to help lift people up. Try to figure out how schools can help kids improve their lives overall. Stop just rubber stamping them as they go through. Do your fucking job. And the state, do your fucking job and make sure that the schools and the teachers have the supplies that they need. No teacher should have to buy their own glue sticks. That's fucking ridiculous. When you're then spending all of that money on electric vehicle chargers. All right? I want to see crayons in the kindergarten. That's my campaign right there. Crayons for everyone. I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State Party. And so are you. Love one another. Drink your frickin' water. Don't be frickin' dumb. And you know what? After listening to this and all of this bullshit, let's just all dance it out.